Hello and welcome to Toolbox Tuesdays. Our goal in our Toolbox Tuesdays is to put tools in your toolbox to help you pound out problems and sharpen your saw. Tonight, Dave Gibson, who usually hosts, is not here. I'm Joanna Carley. I will be hosting tonight's discussion. So tonight, we are going to talk about the power of positive recognition. And this is one of those sessions that will be a bit more interactive. So for the participants that are online live, feel free to unmute yourselves when we have conversation time, and feel free to chat in the chat box if that's more helpful for you. Our conversation tonight is about being recognized and how powerful that can be and how positive it can be. So as I was thinking about this topic, I actually volunteered for it right away because I'm so excited about the topic. I think there's a huge opportunity for us in our everyday lives to be so much better at recognizing and acknowledging other people's achievements. And I was thinking about it and some things that have stood out to me about times where I was recognized for something. There are a couple things that really stood out to me, and one of them was many years ago, as I was still starting out in my Toastmasters journey, that somebody stopped after a contest and asked me whether I was interested in going for my Distinguished Toastmaster, my DTM. And I said, you know, at the time, I wasn't quite sure, but she said, well, when you're ready to do your High Performance Leadership Award, then let me know, and I'll be happy to be on your committee. And it was one of those times where somebody said, I believe in you, I think you can do this, and I want to be part of it. And that was a pretty amazing recognition for me, even though it wasn't a big, loud recognition somewhere. It was just acknowledging that somebody else believed in what I wanted to do and what I could do. So I'm curious from the audience, who would like to share? Does anyone have stories of when they were recognized and what that felt like to them? So if no one has anything to share, I'll move along. But what I wanted to note about recognition is it doesn't have to be huge. It can be an award, it can be a certificate, a trophy, but it can also just be acknowledging somebody. Recognition to me is being seen. It's our way of saying, hi, I see you. I see what you're doing right now, and I'm happy for you, or I think it's good, or I'm glad that you're working on it. And it could be as simple as saying, you know, I really loved your table topics answer today because it helped me get to know you better. But it could be something huge, right? It could be a Distinguished Toastmaster or a new level in Pathways, because those two are things that we want to acknowledge and recognize. Sometimes recognition can be as simple as an acknowledgement of somebody's unique qualities. There was one member in my Toastmasters club who consistently brought new and original ideas, and every time that she did a speech, that she did a table topics, anytime she brought any topics to our meeting, really, I learned something new. I bet a lot of you have people like that in your clubs, and they could use a little bit of recognition for it. Has anyone thought of a story about a time they've been recognized that they want to share? If not, then I'll talk a little bit more about how we can think about recognition. And I immediately thought of a time when it went horribly wrong for me. I had an employee who worked extremely hard. They did a ton of work over the entire year, and I wanted to recognize that person. So at the end of the year, I said, I really want to make sure that this person gets a bonus. In fact, it was a pretty substantial bonus compared to pretty much anybody else in our team. And when the employee heard the news about getting this bonus, instead of being grateful or excited, she was frustrated and angry. I was confused. What was I doing wrong? Well, for this person, the most important part of her annual review rating was her review score. She wanted to know and wanted to make sure that the leaders of our company knew that she was a master at her work. That bonus, it was okay, but it didn't really give her what she wanted. And I was wrong. I thought, who doesn't love money? That could be the most important thing for anyone. But it wasn't. So what I learned from that is to be careful about what's important to people. And when possible, I try to make that recognition more powerful by making it specific to that person. I think about this for myself, and I can think of examples where, for example, one of my strengths is process improvement. And so when I hosted Christmas for the first time for my family, my mom's last comments is she put on her coat and she turned around to hug me and she said, "Today was good, very well organized." I beamed. She didn't say it was a warm, loving Christmas. She didn't say the food was delicious. It was well organized. And for me, that was amazing recognition. But it might be different for somebody else. So it's important to pay attention to what people talk about, how they talk about themselves, how they recognize others, and maybe what things you know are important to them. These can all be clues to what someone appreciates. It could also be hobbies that they like, or maybe Toastmasters goals that you know they're working on. Once you've been in a club for a while and you know the people that you've been in the club with, your power to recognize their achievements is growing exponentially because you have the ability to recognize them for what they're actually working on. How meaningful would it be if someone came up and said, "Wow, you know, I've seen you working on your ums and ahs, and you've really improved over the time that we've been here in this meeting together." That's huge. There was a Toastmaster who I didn't see for years and years, I guess, probably about 8 years from when we first had met. And then not too long ago, she said, "Wow, you seem a lot more confident than you used to be." Now, I could have taken that as, "Wow, you were not confident at all before." But what I really took away from it was somebody saw something different. I've been working on standing tall, being more confident, projecting a confident self. And she did an amazing job of it. I would love some audience participation now. Thinking about somebody in your club or one of the clubs that you belong to. What's something that you would like to recognize someone for in the next week or so?
Well, I have someone in our club that's just so dependable.
Yeah.
She says she will do, she does it, and shows up every week, and also is very positive and enthusiastic, even if things aren't going smoothly.
Oh, and what impact does that have on the rest of the group?
Very important and makes a big difference in our meetings.
Oh, that would be such a fantastic thing to recognize somebody for, right? Yeah, thanks, Debbie. Who else? So as other people are thinking about who they might want to recognize, as I was reflecting back for this conversation tonight, a couple of specific examples came to my mind. one of them was me being in a job that I wasn't getting any kind of recognition for. And it got to the point where I just didn't do anything extra. I didn't put extra effort in. I didn't spend extra time at work coming up with new ideas. I just did the bare minimum because it didn't matter. If I did something amazing or I thought I did something amazing, I didn't get any recognition from it at all. And so I just quit doing things. And then I also was thinking about when I was a kid, probably 11 or 12 years old, one time I was sweeping the kitchen floor and my dad made an offhanded comment, which I'm sure looking back was meant to encourage me to do more work. But he said, "Wow, you're a really good sweeper." And I was so proud. I swept that floor so well after that because somebody recognized it. Like I said, looking back, I'm pretty sure that it was just a way to encourage me to get more work done. But those two memories for me made me think about how much it encourages people to keep doing the things we want them to do. So in Debbie's example, that person who's solid and consistent, if we recognize that person for being solid and consistent, they're going to keep doing it because that recognition is a human need, and it's such a positive one. If you have someone in your club who comes in every single time and is prepared for the meeting, and you comment on it, you've increased the chances that that person will keep coming back, always prepared for their meetings. But if you don't comment on it, they may never know that somebody else appreciated it, and they may just not put the effort in. That's the power of positive recognition. We can actually influence people to continue doing the things that we value, that people continue to feel like they're valued, and they know that they're making a difference, whether that's showing up consistently for meetings, whether it's bringing in new and original ideas, or whether it's just being themselves. Maybe they have a fantastic personality that people love to be around. The power of positive recognition is in acknowledging what's good about people. One other thing that I was thinking about that can be so important in recognition is that it needs to be genuine. It's important to recognize what's true, not just for the sake of recognizing someone, but it should be truthful and it should be honest, because otherwise it doesn't feel good. We've probably all either heard or seen somebody get recognized for something that really wasn't an honest or genuine appreciation, and it doesn't feel right. I think it's important to note there's probably always an element of good in what people do. So even if maybe the results didn't turn out great, but they tried really hard, then that's what you can recognize for them. If I think back to every person's icebreaker, right? Those aren't the most amazing speeches, but they all have an element of good. How good did it feel when you got to sit down after your icebreaker the first time and the evaluator said you did something well? It's so important for us to do that, not just in your first speech, but in everything. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A time. And I would love to hear how you guys want to use this power of positive recognition in a good way.
Well, one thought I have is to recognize people that are newer members. We've had a number of new members join recently. And I think those are the scariest times for someone that comes into a Toastmasters meeting, unless they came in absolutely determined to be in Toastmasters and make it work. But if they were kind of hesitant or didn't know about it, to compliment them on things that they're really good at or that you notice about them early on, to encourage them.
Yeah. What a big difference that can make, especially at the beginning where you're already like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure I'm ready to go back into that meeting and face people again. I didn't do well last week. And that's a really great way to encourage people to continue to come back and achieve their goals. What about other people? Before we wrap up, I will share mine. So when I was reflecting on this all week, getting prepared to talk about it today, I realized that I have an opportunity to do a better job of this in my Toastmasters club. There have been a couple of people who are consistently there, they're consistently engaged, and I'm just going to make sure that this week that I do a heartfelt thank you in some way to them. And it doesn't have to be during our meeting. I think I'll probably end up just sending emails to the people that I want to give positive recognition to this week. But recognition doesn't have to be a huge fanfare. It doesn't have to be challenging. It's as easy as a phone call or a text or an email or, I really appreciate the things that you do for us. And that is, to me, what the power of recognition is all about. All right. We will wrap up tonight's Toolbox Tuesday. Please join us next week. Matt Villela will be covering Speechcraft in next week's Toolbox Tuesday, so he will start at 7 p.m. sharp, and we'll see you next week. Thank you all, and good night.